Hey guys, welcome back to Catching Up with the Walkers. I think this is like third episode or something.
Episode number 3. So thank you guys for joining in, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, so our main channel is called Walker Farm Fam, but here on Catching Up with the Walkers, we just kind of talk about topics and we get you caught up on what's happening behind the scenes on the farm. So if you don't know, I'm Cassie Walker.
I'm Gary Walker.
And we are so glad that you've joined us today.
So today's topic is more or less a current event if you live in Oklahoma. Because we got past our little cold spell, the temperatures are going to be warming up, and April, May time frame is the peak of tornado season.
And you might not be from Oklahoma to learn about that topic, but last year when we did a video about tornado season in Oklahoma, lots of you had lots of questions because it's not something you deal with or you face. And so we thought we'd take some time today to talk about it.
Yeah, we've had tons of questions throughout the last season of tornadoes, and a lot of those questions were more or less concerns. So you're worried about the safety of our family. What are we going to do?
Why do you go out on the porch and watch them?
Yeah, that's kind of the Oklahoma standard, so to speak, is if a tornado comes, everybody heads outside instead of into a safe place, and they watch it until it gets close enough that
you start feeling a little uncomfortable.
If there's some imminent danger, then that's whenever you take cover. But until then, it's more or less a show.
Yep.
So the first thing we want to talk about with the tornado season is shelters. Because with a family like ours, we need to keep everybody safe and keep them out of harm's way if a tornado does decide to come our way. So here in Oklahoma, the probably most common type of shelter that I've seen at least is an in-ground cellar. Or some people call it a bunker, or some people...
We've heard it been called several things, but a storm cellar is what I mostly heard it called growing up, and most people used it to store their vegetables and things out of the garden and their canning and all that. It just gives you peace of mind to have a place to go if something does happen.
Yeah, and there was actually one on this 60-acre farm when we bought it. It had been caved in, so that somebody had made a rock one. So some people may call it a root cellar,
yeah.
But it was a rock formation of a storm shelter with some metal on top, and that's what they had dug down here at the entryway of our property. And when we bought it, it had all kind of caved in, so it was more or less not usable, and we had to fill it in to keep kids or cows from falling in the hole.
Yeah, it was more of a hazard than anything. I kind of wanted to keep it because I thought it was super cool. It was old, original. Someone had put a lot of time and effort into it, but for safety reasons, we had to fill that in.
And that's the more older type. The newer type of storm cellars are just a big concrete box with a little bit of an angle for a door and a top with an air vent. They dig a hole, put that down in the ground, push dirt around it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, so Keeping It Dutch and Hidden Heights Farm has one of those. But Bo over at Moorhead Homestead, he has...
Speaking of...
He happened to be wearing his hat. He has more of the root cellar, older one that has been on his homestead for a long time that he's trying to fix up.
Yeah, so those are some pretty common shelters. They work great. So whenever we built our new home here, we wanted a shelter for a tornado, but we also wanted something that we could focus on for long term as far as being able to get in and out of it in an emergency. The only problem with some of those storm shelters that are outside and dug into the ground is that when you go outside, a lot of times you may be running through really strong wind,
soak 'em wet,
or water or hail. And so we opted for a different option, and this is probably becoming more common now, an above ground safe room. And so we have a 6-foot by 8-foot safe room installed in our home. It's one of our closets, and we're able to run in there and get out of harm's way if a tornado is coming our way.
Yeah, and safe rooms have kind of been around for a while. My sister and brother-in-law built a house before Gary and I even got married, I believe, and they built one on the back of their house out of cinder blocks. Ours is inside our house and is utilized as a closet, so it's not added extra space. So there's different ways of doing it. Another reason we didn't want one outside is I already have a really bad back, and when I get older, going up and down that is probably not going to be easy. But also, we had a friend's parents were building at the same time of us, and we thought about putting an in-ground under our porch so we didn't have to get out in the weather. Right before we decided to do that, our friend's dad was climbing down into one and hurt himself pretty bad. He hurt his knee, and he's in his 70s, and he hurt himself pretty bad. And so that was Gary and I's kind of like light bulb moment of, let's not do that. Let's put it in the closet, and then we're good to go. Also, what I love about it is if we see something happening, say Gary's not here or the kids have a babysitter or something, sometimes we use teenagers for that, and they don't feel safe, they can go in and shut it and lock it, and there's bars that they cannot open it from the outside. They can put bars on the inside. So that also gives me peace of mind that there's a safe place for them to go if they feel like they're in danger.
Yeah, it has multiple purposes, and ours is not made of cinder blocks, as Cassie said. Ours is made of reinforced metal. And so they take these shelters down, I think to Texas Tech is where they actually do the testing on them, and they test them, and they are certified for an F5 tornado. There was actually a tornado in Moore, Oklahoma a few years back, and we'll show you a picture of that, where the only thing left on the foundation is the storm shelter itself. And so that's who we went with. Is Family Safe is the name of the company, and they just had a lot of shelters that have actually survived tornadoes, and I like seeing the proof of those pictures.
Yeah, Gary personally says the proof is in the pudding. We're going to have to put that on a shirt.
Nah, I don't know. the proof is in the shelter being stuck on the foundation and being the only thing there whenever the tornado comes through. And so that brings me to my cup today.
Gary and his themed cups.
So we're going with strength, because you need some strength when it comes to your storm shelter. And I mean, our strength can only come from God, but our storm shelter's strength has to come from that metal. So when I go inside that shelter, I can tell the strength is there. That door is over 100 pounds when it shuts. And it has 3 deadbolts, and then it has 2 pieces of metal to put behind it. It shuts, and you feel safe inside. So that is something that makes me more comfortable when we start seeing the clouds turn dark and the news is going crazy with all the reports of tornadoes coming. It makes me feel safe to be able to go in there and take our family in there to weather the storm.
Yeah, and we have a video over our storm shelter. I'll put an iCard up here. We also show you my other sister's Family Safe storm shelter at their house. They recently purchased a new home. It was a brand new build, but they weren't able to make all the decisions in it. When they found it, it was already being built. So they went with Family Safe, and they put it in their garage. And it's really neat. It's awesome that they can come into a house that's already been built and put that where it's needed. So if you want to take a look at that, like I said, the iCard's up there. Just head over there and check that out.
So I think that's enough info about our shelter. If you do have any questions, though, leave it down in the comments, and we'll try to get those answered for you. We do read every comment and every prayer request and everything that you guys send us, and we appreciate all the feedback. So the third type of shelter that is not as common in Oklahoma is the probably number one question we have.
Every time
we post anything about a tornado or shelter, the question is, well, what about your basement?
Why don't you have a basement?
Yeah, why don't you just
Everybody's got basements.
Well, they say, why don't you just go down in your basement and then get out of the tornado like that? And that is a great idea. The only problem is very few houses in Oklahoma have basements. Whenever you're building a home, if you are building up north, a basement makes a lot of sense because the freeze line is so deep that you have to have a basement so your pipes don't freeze under your house, and the pipes coming in, it just makes a lot more sense. So down here in Oklahoma, further south, our freeze line is only about 24 inches. And so it makes a lot more sense financially to build a solid slab foundation or block up a foundation and have a crawl space under your house than to put all of the extra expense into a basement. So just for a few $1,000s, you can have a storm shelter like ours, or you can have one in the ground like some of our friends do, and it's a lot cheaper than going through and adding the expense of a basement.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, Gary says, we can't go anywhere and you don't see someone you don't know. But out of all those people I know, I probably know 2, 3 people with basements, if that. And I've never been in their basement, so I just know that they have basements. So it's just not a common thing around here. But we have friends that live in other parts of the country that have them. They use them. They're a game room or a family room or whatever. And it makes complete sense. But just here, it's just not very common.
Yeah, so hopefully we got that question answered as why don't we just use our basement? It's because we don't have one. And you know, we know that other areas in the country, especially the further north you go, you know, they get tornadoes too. Oklahoma is in Tornado Alley, but it's not the only state by any means that gets tornadoes. So we know a lot of you up north, you have basements and you're prepared that way. But we want to do all we can to be prepared here in Oklahoma. And maybe the last question is, well, what do you do if you don't have any of those? So we've lived like that for lots of years.
My entire life, I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Did you guys have something growing up?
No, we had we didn't really have anything in our house. There was a previous owner of our home growing up was in the oil field, and they had this metal building that was like weighed a ton, like tons and tons. And so that probably would have been the safest place to go at our house in a tornado. It had a locking door, but we never did have anything growing up. So what do you do then?
My dad just went to sleep and my mom took us and the kids to the neighbors.
That works.
Because they had one.
If you're, hey,
Dad would say, all right, you guys go down there, I'm going to bed.
So if you're scared enough, there's a community around you in Oklahoma. Somebody has a cellar or a safe room or something. I know we've told our neighbor that lives down the road, he doesn't have anything. He's welcome to come here anytime, him and his wife. And we would be happy to let them in the event of a tornado.
So what do you do if you don't have anything?
You grab some pillows. You grab some blankets. And
a lot of people get mattresses off their beds.
Or mattresses. And you run into an interior room. So it could be a closet or it could be a bathroom. I think probably the most common thing is if your bathroom's not on the outside of your house, is to go get in your bathtub. So lay down in your bathtub, pull blankets over you, and you start praying.
You don't go to sleep like my dad.
And I mean, we've seen newscasts after newscasts of people where their roof is lifted off, but they were right inside their house and they had a blanket over them inside their bathtub and they were good.
When my mom and dad were newly married, they lived in a single-wide trailer house, and storms were coming. And my mom told my dad, and he's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. Just go to bed." They say that it never really hits. So they went to bed. Next morning, they woke up. Mom goes outside, and half their roof was in the yard.
Yeah, it happens. We've had barns get the tops ripped off of them growing up. Just different stuff like that, but I've never personally been right in the center of a tornado.
Usually it's just damage. The things that come here, and Moore and places like that, and Joplin, Missouri, there's been some horrible tornadoes in other parts of the country. Typically here, people don't die. It doesn't take people's lives. It just really messes up structures and scares you.
Well, and we're so rural here. So we're not in the center of a town or anything. So a tornado might be going through, stay on the ground for a mile or two. It might lift up and go a few more miles, drop down, and then destroy some more barns and houses and stuff. So it's not really
it doesn't wipe out a community.
It's not a wipe out unless it's in a large community. So if it hits somewhere like Tulsa or Broken Arrow or Oklahoma City, obviously then that's whenever you're going to have probably mass casualties and that type of thing.
Yeah, and we try to keep stuff in our safe room in case we need it. But Gary's theory is we are rural. It doesn't take out mass communities. And so within 30 minutes, someone is going to be here to help us or get us out if that's the case. So we don't go overboard with our supplies in there. But, the kids are hungry within 5 minutes. So
yeah, our local Mays County Emergency Management here, they keep records of if people have a safe room or a cellar, where it's at, how many people it might hold. So if something does come through, their job is to coordinate with the local helpers, as I like to call them. I tell Ranger and Mazzy and Ransom, if anything bad ever happens, look for the helpers. So when the helpers, the police, the fire, the ambulance, that type of thing comes and starts looking for people, they kind of have an idea of who has a storm shelter, if they need to go check them in this part of the county. So we just wanted to share that little bit of information. It's that time of year. I hope you guys are all weather aware if you are in this area of the country, because sooner or later it's going to be our turn.
You didn't say anything about my hair?
Oh, if you guys didn't notice, Cassie, she got her hair done. I did tell her when she walked through the door that it looked very nice, so I didn't tell her on here, but it does look very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sure everyone noticed.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they noticed I didn't have a hat on. And why do I wear hats all the time? I just like them. I was daddy's girl. He always wore a hat, so I did too. So that's why I wear hats.
Cassie likes hats.
I don't like fixing my hair. I mean, I don't know.
She likes to buy the same hat that I buy and then try to wear it on the same day that I wear it, so we match.
Matchy matchy.
So to finish out this episode of Catching Up with the Walkers, planning and praying. So as far as planning, what's coming up and what happened in our last video. So in our last video, you saw us put down the foundation for the goat shelter. And we are going a different direction than what we've done in the past as far as building with wood versus metal. So I won't say too much right now, but I will say that wood prices, and you'll see this in the next video, and that's the upcoming part. Wood prices have skyrocketed. They're still high. I don't know if there's any relief in sight. I really feel bad for all the people out there building homes right now and that type of thing, because there's no way around it. But metal hasn't really been impacted as much. So there's a little hint for our next video in our goat shelter. Metal is the way to go for us.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be different. And I've seen other people do this, but we've never done it. And I don't know anyone personally that has, that I have been to their place. So I'm excited to see how it turns out and how it works out and if we like it. Also, I have baby chicks hatching as we're speaking. I can hear them chirping.
There's one out of the egg. There's more on their way.
And then I got turkey eggs in the incubator, and the duck eggs just have a few more days before they go on lockdown. So incubators are still in full force, and I really need more brooders. So we got to figure that out in the next day or two.
Yeah, I know people are excited about the Indian runner ducks.
Yes.
Probably I've seen more comments about that than anything else. Somebody said they were ready for DuckTales. I don't know if you remember that old show.
Woo!
DuckTales, but people were ready for DuckTales, and so am I at this point.
Yeah, we're excited. Ransom's really excited because he's been hoping those chickens will swim with him, but now he's going to have some ducks to swim with. Not that we have a pool, but we're pretty excited about some changes on the farm and some additions on the farm.
Yeah, and as far as praying, thank you guys so much I've had several people reach out and say they've been praying for us, and that means a lot to us, more than you know. And we've also seen several different prayer requests in our videos. So I encourage each and every one of you to scroll through as you're watching our video and see those. And if you are a person that prays, just add those to your list if you would. We know our viewers would really appreciate it.
I know last video we talked about Jimmy Houston and his wife. Remember them? This video I want to focus and talk about Rustic Woodworking family. Their little boy, Kason, he's been having some tests run, having seizures and different things. They're trying to figure out what's going on there, get some answers, so that they know how to move forward and how to help him out. So if you guys would be praying for Kason and giving the doctor's wisdom and being with his family, they possibly will have an update out soon on that. I'm not sure. But head over to Rustic Woodworking Family. They also did our logo and have made t-shirts and things for us. Tell them Walker Farm Fam sent you, but most importantly, tell them that you're praying for Kason and that they get answers from the doctor.
So that kind of wraps up our planning and praying part of the video. But we want to thank each and every one of you for just coming back and tuning back in. I know this is a different format. I've also had people say, I never thought I would just watch two people talking for 20 minutes. And I was
Nor
like,
did I when I started watching Cog Heels podcast. So.
I didn't either. But hey, we enjoy this. And if you guys enjoy it, then keep tuning in. And if you don't, that's okay with us. We just want to, again, have another outlet to reach out to you guys a couple times a week on a more personal basis. And it'd be really difficult for us to sit down with the kids and have this kind of conversation with you. So we appreciate you guys joining in and taking the time to allow us to do that.
Some of you guys have asked where they could get a mug like this. Walker Farm Fam. We are hoping to add that. We do have a website with merchandise on it. It's down in our description where we have hats and t-shirts. But we're hoping to add cups. I had a cup for Gary. And then there was a local charity auction, and we donated a Walker Farm Fan basket, and his cup got donated. But we hope to be able to do this in the future. I want one that's like that tall. This is just what I had available when I got the sticker.
Is it not hold enough for you? Everybody keeps talking about my big cups.
I like those big cups, and I like handles. So we're working on that. Hopefully we'll have some things available in the future. We so appreciate you guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Catching Up with the Walkers. We'll see you next time, and God bless.